All right, lesson 2, chapter 2 is graphing points and lines on the coordinate plane. And the first thing we have is a lot of vocabulary. So let's go ahead and look at this vocabulary a little bit at a time. Otherwise, it's a little overwhelming. So first you have a coordinate plane. And that's a plane that's formed by the intersection of a horizontal number line and a vertical number line. The horizontal is called the x-axis and the vertical is called the y-axis. Well, next we have the x-axis, which is the horizontal axis on a number plane, and the y-axis is the vertical axis on the coordinate plane. I said number plane up here, but I meant coordinate plane. And then we have a quadrant, and the quadrant is those are the four sections of a coordinate plane separated by the x and y axis. All right, next we have the x-coordinate, and that's the first number in an ordered pair. It tells the distance that you move right or left from the origin. And the y-coordinate is the second number in an ordered pair, and it tells the distance that you move up or down, not from the origin, but from where you were in the y. And finally, you have the origin, and that's the point where the x and y-axis intersect on the coordinate plane, and that is the point 0, 0. If you need to pause or rewind, feel free to do so. I want you to go ahead and sketch out a coordinate plane, and we're going to label it. This is the x-axis, and here's the y-axis, and here is the origin. That's 0, 0. And the quadrants start up here in the upper right-hand corner and go counterclockwise. So quadrant 1, quadrant 2, 3, and 4. And the quadrants are labeled with Roman numerals. Now we're going to go ahead and label some points. So they want us to give the coordinates in the quadrant of each point. So let's go ahead and start with R. R, we go 1 to the right and 3 up, so it's 1, 3, and that's in quadrant 1. Then we have S. We don't go to the right or to the left, so it's 0, but we go down 3, so 0, negative 3, and that's actually on the y-axis. It is not in a quadrant. And then we have point T. We go 2 to the left and 2 up, so negative 2, positive 2. That's in quadrant 2. And the point U, we go 3 to the left, but none up and down, so it's negative 3, 0, and that's the x-axis. Now we're going to go ahead and graph each of these points. So point A is 3 to the right and 4 up, and we'll just label that with an A. B is 4 to the right, and we don't go up at all or down, so it's right there on the x-axis. C is negative 4, so we go 4 to the left and then positive 4, so 4 up. And D is negative 1, so 1 to the left and negative 3, 3 down. Lastly, we're going to find the distance between some points that are vertical and horizontal. I know it's easy just to count, but I want you to do it with the formula because eventually we're going to have to find diagonal distances, and you are going to be in a formula for that. So we're looking at the distance between K and L, and it's horizontal, so we're going to use the x-coordinates, and I'm going to label the K and the L. I'm going to look at my points. K, now be very careful and look at your scale. K is actually negative 2, negative 2. Negative 2, negative 2. And L is 2, 4, and negative 2. Now again, we're going to look at the x coordinates, and we're going to find the distance by putting them in the absolute value brackets. Remember, absolute value means the positive distance from 0. And we're going to subtract. So I'm going to take this first x-coordinate right here, negative 2, and from it I'm going to subtract the second one, negative 4. So I know negative 2 minus 4 more is negative 6, but the absolute value of negative 6 is positive 6. So the distance is actually 6, and I can count it, 2, 4, 6. Let's do the same thing with M and N. They're vertical, so I'm going to use the y-coordinates, which means they should have the same x-coordinate. And the x-coordinate for M is 2, 6. And for the N, it's 2, negative 6. So again, I'm going to take my absolute value and I'm going to subtract the y values. So I have 6 subtract a negative 6. Well, don't forget, when you have a double negative, you add the opposite. So 6 plus 6 is 12, and the absolute value of 12 is 12. So the distance between m and n is 12. And yes, again, you can check yourself by counting 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, but I still expect you to show your work. If you choose to start your assignment early, here it is, Lesson 2-2. It covers page 56 and 57, problems 19 to 40, 41, 44, and 45.